Have you ever noticed that some people become strangely uncomfortable in your presence, even when you say almost nothing? They interrupt you, avoid eye contact, compete with you for no obvious reason, or dismiss you before they even know who you are. Most people assume this is coincidence, personality, or luck. Carl Jung believes something far more unsettling. Beneath your words, your appearance, and your social status exists a psychological presence that silently communicates who you are long before you speak. That invisible force can inspire trust, awaken admiration, or trigger fear in people who cannot explain why they feel the way they do. Today, you will discover why your aura is far more powerful than you realize, how it shapes every interaction, and why those intimidated by it often reveal more about themselves than about you. Before we begin, comment the words "I choose awareness" if you are ready to see beyond appearances. Subscribe, like this video, and stay until the very end, because the final insight may permanently change the way you understand yourself and everyone around you. Carl Jung developed his ideas during a period when psychology was beginning to explore the hidden dimensions of the human mind. While many thinkers focused on behavior alone, Jung argued that every person carries an invisible psychological field shaped by consciousness, the unconscious, and the lifelong process of becoming whole. Ancient traditions called this presence spirit, life force, or inner light. Yet modern culture gradually dismissed such ideas as superstition. Ironically, neuroscience, social psychology, and behavioral science now confirm that humans constantly detect subtle emotional signals, facial expressions, posture, tone, and unconscious patterns before rational thought begins. What earlier civilizations described symbolically, science increasingly observes experimentally. Yet few people connect these discoveries with Jung's deeper insight. Your inner world quietly influences every relationship you enter. This wisdom was never truly lost. It was simply buried beneath distractions, material success, and endless noise. Recovering it may transform your life forever inwardly. What you have discovered so far is only the outer layer. The greatest influence is never loud, obvious, or theatrical. It operates beneath awareness, shaping every encounter before logic has time to intervene. The following psychological weapons reveal why certain people instinctively respect, resist, fear, or underestimate your invisible presence completely. Psychological weapon 1. Silent congruence. Most people believe influence begins when they speak. Jung suggested the opposite. Your deepest influence begins long before language enters the conversation. When your beliefs, emotions, intentions, and actions align, your mind broadcasts consistency that others instinctively detect. Social psychology shows people unconsciously search for contradictions because inconsistency signals uncertainty and potential danger. Someone who desperately seeks approval leaks invisible cues through posture, timing, and tone. Someone who quietly accepts themselves creates a completely different atmosphere. This explains why two people can say identical words while producing opposite reactions. One feels trustworthy, while the other appears forced. Silent congruence cannot be faked for long, because the unconscious always exposes internal conflict. People intimidated by your presence often sense this alignment without understanding its source. They mistake inner certainty for superiority. In reality, they are confronting a level of psychological integration they have not yet achieved themselves. Psychological weapon 2. Emotional containment. The strongest person in any room is rarely the loudest. More often, it is the individual who refuses to surrender emotional control. Carl Jung believed that unconscious emotions spread rapidly between people, shaping groups without anyone realizing it. Modern neuroscience supports this through emotional contagion, where nervous systems unconsciously synchronize with those nearby. If you panic, others become uneasy. If you remain calm, tension slowly dissolves. Emotional containment does not mean suppressing feelings. It means observing them without allowing them to dictate your behavior. This creates a psychological advantage because reactive individuals become predictable, while composed individuals remain impossible to manipulate. Those who attempt to provoke you frequently become frustrated when they receive no emotional reward. Your silence forces them to face their own instability instead. That invisible stability becomes intimidating because it cannot be controlled through criticism, praise, pressure, or manipulation. Calmness quietly transforms into unmistakable authority before anyone consciously notices. Psychological weapon 3. The mirror effect. One of Jung's greatest discoveries was projection, the tendency to attribute hidden qualities within ourselves to someone else. This explains why your presence can trigger powerful reactions without any deliberate action. When someone accuses you of arrogance, they may actually be confronting their own insecurity. When another admires your confidence, they may be recognizing qualities they secretly desire. You unknowingly become a living mirror, reflecting unconscious conflicts buried beneath awareness. This is why people often create stories about you despite knowing almost nothing about your life. The human mind prefers familiar narratives over uncomfortable self-examination. Your aura becomes threatening whenever it reflects unresolved fears, hidden ambitions, or forgotten potential inside another person. Understanding this changes everything. Instead of absorbing every judgment personally, you begin asking what hidden struggle your presence may have activated. Often, criticism reveals more about the observer than the individual being observed. That realization creates extraordinary psychological freedom and lasting inner confidence. Psychological weapon 4. Strategic mystery. Modern culture encourages constant self-disclosure. Every thought, emotion, achievement, and disappointment is expected to be shared instantly. Jung understood that excessive exposure weakens psychological depth because mystery invites projection, curiosity, and respect. When every detail becomes available, imagination disappears. Strategic mystery does not require deception. It requires disciplined restraint. You reveal only what serves your purpose while protecting the deeper parts of your identity. This creates healthy boundaries that discourage manipulation and unnecessary judgment. People often become uncomfortable around those they cannot easily categorize because certainty provides psychological comfort. The unknown demands attention. This is why genuinely self-aware individuals rarely feel compelled to explain themselves continuously. Their confidence eliminates the need for constant validation. Ironically, speaking less often increases the weight of every word you choose. Your silence becomes meaningful rather than awkward. Others begin filling the empty spaces with their own assumptions, revealing their motivations while your true intentions remain carefully protected. Psychological weapon 5. Unshakable direction. Nothing unsettles insecure people more than witnessing someone who knows exactly where they are going. Purpose radiates through decisions, habits, priorities, and consistency. Jung described individuation as the lifelong process of becoming your authentic self rather than living according to external expectations. Individuals pursuing this path naturally become difficult to influence because their identity depends upon inner conviction instead of public approval. They reject unnecessary distractions without guilt and remain committed despite criticism or temporary failure. This creates an aura of quiet determination that many mistake for intimidation. In truth, it is psychological independence. Those who constantly seek validation often experience discomfort because your example silently exposes their dependence on external opinions. Instead of arguing with your beliefs, they attempt to question your confidence. Yet genuine direction cannot be borrowed or stolen. It emerges only through continuous self-confrontation. The person who masters themselves ultimately becomes the person others struggle to control or discourage. What follows moves beyond observation into the shadow structures that quietly govern perception, influence, and identity. These shadow codes expose the unseen conflicts shaping admiration, resentment, attraction, and fear. Understanding them grants clarity where others remain trapped inside unconscious reactions every single day, revealing power hidden beneath ordinary human behavior. The first shadow code reveals that intimidation often begins inside the observer, not inside you. Jung argued the unconscious constantly searches for rejected qualities buried within. Whenever someone encounters a person expressing courage, discipline, authenticity, or emotional stability, suppressed desires awaken. Instead of embracing those possibilities, many defend their existing identity through criticism, mockery, or avoidance. This defense protects the ego from painful self-recognition. Modern psychology calls this projection, yet its consequences reach far beyond theory. Entire workplaces, friendships, and families become battlegrounds because one integrated individual silently exposes everyone else's unfinished inner work. Your presence becomes unsettling because it illuminates possibilities others fear pursuing. Once you recognize this mechanism, you stop begging for acceptance and start protecting your psychological integrity. Their discomfort is rarely your responsibility. It is often an invitation they refuse to accept, leaving you free to continue growing without unnecessary guilt or hesitation every single day. The second shadow code concerns the unbearable weight of authenticity. People spend enormous energy constructing acceptable personalities that satisfy families, employers, friends, and strangers. Beneath those carefully maintained masks lives an exhausted, self-craving expression. When you gradually remove your own mask, others immediately notice the difference, even without understanding why. Your decisions become harder to predict because they emerge from conviction instead of performance. That unpredictability disturbs individuals who depend upon social conformity for emotional safety. They instinctively pressure you to become more familiar, more agreeable, and less independent. Refusing that invitation creates invisible tension. Jung believed every abandoned mask strengthens the authentic personality beneath it. Although authenticity attracts meaningful relationships, it simultaneously dissolves superficial ones. The resulting loneliness frightens many people into returning their masks. Those willing to endure temporary isolation eventually develop an unmistakable psychological gravity impossible to imitate consistently, with remarkable consistency across every important relationship. The third shadow code reveals that attention follows emotional certainty more than external perfection. Society encourages endless self-improvement, implying confidence arrives after flawless achievement. Jung reversed that sequence. Inner acceptance becomes the foundation supporting meaningful growth, not its final reward. Individuals anchored by self-respect naturally communicate slower, listen deeper, and react less impulsively. These subtle behaviors signal psychological security before accomplishments become visible. Observers unconsciously compare that stability with their own internal uncertainty, creating admiration or resentment. Behavioral scientists describe similar effects through confidence heuristics, influencing rapid judgments. Yet certainty without humility becomes arrogance, another fragile mask protecting insecurity. Genuine certainty remains flexible because it welcomes correction without collapsing. That quiet resilience unsettles manipulative personalities who depend upon emotional volatility. They cannot easily predict someone whose identity remains stable despite criticism, praise, success, or temporary failure. Such stability quietly transforms ordinary presence into uncommon influence throughout every meaningful human interaction. The fourth shadow code exposes why scarcity creates invisible dependence. Anyone convinced opportunities, relationships, or recognition remain limited becomes psychologically controllable. Fear of losing approval encourages compromise against personal values. Jung observed that unconscious fear repeatedly shapes conscious decisions while pretending to be rational. People trapped within scarcity thinking chase validation because they believe worth depends upon external acceptance. Abundance begins internally, through recognizing that dignity cannot be granted or removed by another person. This realization fundamentally changes negotiation, friendship, leadership, and love. Desperation disappears, patience grows, and manipulation loses effectiveness. Others often misinterpret this calm detachment as arrogance because they cannot imagine freedom from constant approval seeking. Your aura strengthens whenever your choices reflect values rather than panic. Psychological independence always appears threatening to systems designed around compliance, conformity, and emotional dependence. Freedom silently communicates possibilities. Many people still struggle believing exist today beneath everyday choices and lasting consequences. The fifth shadow code uncovers the paradox of invisible leadership. Many individuals pursue authority through louder voices, stronger opinions, and constant visibility. History repeatedly demonstrates another pattern. The most influential figures often shaped environments by mastering themselves before directing anyone else. Jung believed inner order naturally expresses itself outwardly. affecting conversations, decisions, and collective morale. Modern organizational psychology similarly finds emotional regulation spreading throughout teams from calm leaders. Your aura becomes influential because people experience consistency instead of performance. They trust what repeatedly matches reality. This influence rarely demands recognition, making it even harder to resist. Before continuing, comment the phrase "shadow awakens" if these insights resonate with your experience. Your reflection may encourage someone else to begin recognizing the unseen psychological forces quietly shaping every important relationship they encounter throughout life. Remember that real mastery begins with governing your own inner world before attempting to influence anyone else consciously. The final stage transforms insight into disciplined practice. Knowledge changes nothing until embodied through consistent behavior. These aura calibration methods are designed to strengthen your invisible presence, sharpen emotional stability, and align your inner world with your outward influence. Apply them patiently and watch perception quietly change every single day. Every morning, spend 5 uninterrupted minutes observing your emotional state before touching your phone. Ask yourself what emotion already occupies your mind and where it originated. Naming emotions reduces unconscious influence, allowing deliberate responses instead of automatic reactions. Breathe slowly until your body settles. Then choose one intention guiding every interaction throughout the day. This ritual creates congruence between awareness and behavior. Over time, people begin sensing greater consistency because fewer unconscious impulses escape through your expressions, voice, or decisions. You stop broadcasting confusion and start projecting quiet certainty. That certainty becomes the foundation of an authentic aura impossible to imitate consistently. Even stressful moments become opportunities to strengthen inner alignment rather than lose composure. Eventually, your presence communicates stability before conversations begin. Others respond differently because your internal order quietly shapes external perception. Practice daily. Remain patient. Trust gradual transformation without chasing immediate validation. Lasting influence always begins within. Protect your attention with deliberate periods of silence every day. Turn off unnecessary notifications and resist the urge to explain yourself constantly. Every unnecessary explanation weakens psychological authority because it signals dependence on approval. Instead, answer thoughtfully, pause comfortably, and allow silence to complete your message. Research shows confident communicators tolerate pauses without anxiety. During those quiet moments, other people reveal their intentions through impatience, interruptions, or nervous overtalking. Observe rather than react. Information collected through restraint often proves more valuable than information gained through constant speaking. Your restraint becomes an invisible filter, exposing character before trust is offered. Eventually, people begin measuring their words more carefully around you because your composure quietly encourages accountability. Preserve this habit consistently, especially during conflict or negotiation. The person controlling silence frequently controls direction without appearing forceful. Quiet discipline creates lasting influence beyond ordinary persuasion alone every single time you engage with others. Practice intentional eye contact without staring. Meet another person's gaze naturally while remaining relaxed. Your eyes communicate emotional certainty faster than carefully prepared words. Nervous scanning signals insecurity, whereas grounded attention demonstrates presence. Combine this exercise with slower breathing and balanced posture. Neuroscience suggests steady visual engagement increases perceived credibility when paired with authentic emotional regulation. Avoid forcing intensity. The objective is connection, not domination. People instinctively trust individuals who appear comfortable seeing and being seen. If discomfort arises, notice it without judgment and remain present. Repeating this practice gradually retrains your nervous system toward confidence. Others begin responding with greater openness because your attention feels complete instead of fragmented. Authentic presence encourages meaningful dialogue while discouraging manipulation disguised as charm. Strong eye contact, rooted in calm awareness, quietly amplifies your aura across every conversation, creating memorable impressions that endure long after words have faded from memory entirely with time. End each evening by reviewing 3 interactions from your day. Identify one moment where your aura felt strongest, one moment where emotion weakened your presence, and one lesson worth carrying forward. This reflective practice strengthens self-awareness faster than relying on memory alone. Jung believed conscious reflection gradually integrates unconscious material. Writing honestly prevents uncomfortable patterns from hiding beneath distraction. Avoid blaming other people for every difficult encounter. Instead, examine your reactions with curiosity and courage. Growth accelerates when responsibility replaces defensiveness. Weeks of consistent reflection reveal recurring triggers, overlooked strengths, and emerging confidence. You begin recognizing progress previously ignored because transformation often unfolds quietly. Awareness accumulated through repetition becomes wisdom, guiding future decisions. Your aura strengthens because your inner narrative becomes increasingly truthful and internally consistent. Honest reflection quietly eliminates illusions before reality does, preserving strength through continual self-correction and deliberate humility every single evening without exception at all times. Choose one meaningful challenge each week that deliberately stretches your emotional resilience. Initiate the difficult conversation, decline the unnecessary obligation, speak the honest opinion, or spend time completely alone without seeking distraction. Every voluntary encounter with discomfort expands psychological capacity because courage develops through repeated exposure rather than comforting intentions. Behavioral science demonstrates that controlled challenges gradually reduce fear responses while increasing confidence. Record every completed challenge, regardless of outcome, because progress depends upon consistency instead of perfection. Over months, your nervous system begins interpreting uncertainty as opportunity instead of danger. This shift becomes visible through calmer decisions, steadier emotions, and stronger boundaries. People notice the difference, even when they cannot explain it. Your aura evolves because you repeatedly prove to yourself that discomfort cannot define your identity. Lasting influence belongs to those who consistently master themselves before attempting to master circumstances or others with unwavering discipline every single day. You have reached the end, but the real journey begins when these insights become daily habits. Your aura was never something mysterious floating outside you. It is the natural consequence of your thoughts, emotions, discipline, and integrity. Every calm decision, every honest reflection, and every courageous choice strengthens the invisible impression you leave behind. Remember, people respond not only to your words, but to the person you have become. Keep questioning, keep observing, and keep mastering yourself. If this exploration challenged your perspective, subscribe to Hidden Oasis for more timeless wisdom, psychology, and profound self-mastery. Like this video, share it with someone ready to awaken, and comment "I choose awareness" below, because every transformation begins with conscious recognition. Until next time, protect your mind, refine your character, embrace your shadow, cultivate quiet strength, and never underestimate the extraordinary influence of your authentic presence in every encounter throughout your life always.